It's 175-ish for a Nerf blaster of this size. Hello there folks, my name's Ben. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a fair old while since we had a video, and today we're doing the shooting test of the KM9 Unicorn. This is subject of unboxing a couple of videos ago on the channel now, and it's essentially I guess you'd call it a micro Springer in Nerf. Metal and plastic construction. It's very tough, very stalwart in the hand. It's nice to have something that fires a bit lower in terms of FPS, but at the same time is still built well. So built by a company that traditionally did gel ball blasters, and we've got a comically large sight on the top, and we're going to see today what it puts across the chronograph, various different darts, and we're also going to see if we can hit some targets with it from sort of 18 to 20 meters away, which I guess is about ideal engagement distance for something of this power. So without further ado, let's get into it. So just to start the firing festivities, just going to take a little bit of time just to go over some of the features and more unusual features of this little Nerf primary. And pretty much the main sort of things you need to know about it are, it is a very tough plastic construction with a lot of metal parts. Essentially anything you see that's orange is essentially painted metal. You also have a very nice PDW style stock, which locks in various positions to give you a bit of adjustability with how far you want it away from your body. There is presently mounted a Picatinny rail at the top. However, that actually covers up a hole in the top of the blaster, and you can actually fit a top prime to it. So if you wish to use it as a top prime, say maybe without the stock on it, it's almost like a top prime pistol, then you can. We have an offset pump grip on the front. Essentially just means that you still get clearance on your mag well. You do have to be a bit careful with the grips that you apply to it, because if you put something that's too close to the mag well, it will smack your hand when you're racking it in use. So that kind of covers the sort of general features. You do have a safety as well, and I forgot to say in my original unboxing of this, did note that there is a longer barrel in the package, and it's now in there for just firing. We still have a standard spring, so the spring that it comes with. However, I've seen that the longer barrel is something that it likes even with the standard spring. So one of the more unusual accessories that it comes with is this addition, which essentially gives you an underslung stock. So if I just pop the PDW style stock off the back, free pop that in there, and then use this piece to lock it in place. It gives us a nice tight fit, and that allows you to use essentially upside down Nerf stocks. So if I just go grab my regular stock that I've got somewhere, and there we are. So it's a little bit of an interesting addition in that it means that you can use stocks upside down. However, that is still actually very usable. So I can see why they've gone in that direction. And then the other thing that offers is the ability to actually use a pop bottle as a stock. So you'll have to excuse the enormous 2 litre Dr Pepper bottle, but it actually will screw in. So if you had, like say, a 500ml half litre, or I don't know what the equivalent would be in the States, it will actually allow you to use a pop bottle as a stock. And it does actually form quite a tight seal, so I think you could actually get away with using a drinks bottle that was full of liquid. And if you got thirsty while you were out in the field, you could pop it off, have a quick swig, and then pop it back in. So yeah, rather unusual but really quite cool feature, and just a nice inclusion. It's something that you haven't had to make the Nerf with the blaster any less efficient or difficult to use to do something unusual. It's a really nice bit of thought that's got into that. However, seeing as I'm far more on the performance side of things, we will in fact be using the rather lovely PDW style stock that comes with it. So this is the setup we'll be using for the firing test. Long barrel, otherwise very stock, just with the top sight mounted so that we can see what we're doing. So let's get into the chrono test. Okay, so the first round of the chrono test is going to be 5 shots of these, which are the rather strange darts that the Unicorn comes with in the packet. We actually have a sticky head and this is an EPP body. So if you've ever used dragon darts or have seen dragon darts, these are made out of the same material, but they have a ribbed body between the bamboo ends. So this is a very specific dart, so it'll be interesting to see how it works with more traditional sort of worker HE Nerf darts. Also, I meant to say, it does have a skinny pusher, so even though we are all the way forward, you get a gravity drop. You see there's some standard workers in there. And mag insertion is simply a matter of clicking it home. So without further ado, let's see what she'll hit. Just a reminder, we are on the larger barrel that does come in the package, but it is the standard spring. And we have a staunch 173, that's not bad at all. 174, nice and consistent. 174 again. 171.5. 175.4. So very good performance from those darts in this barrel, which you would expect. They do come with it. So, and 170 for admittedly, these are probably quite light, these darts. 175-ish for a Nerf blaster of this size with this air volume is very impressive. Okay, folks, back with me now. We are now running Worker HE Gen 2s. These are your sort of full-bodied factory style standard Nerf darts that most people run in their springers for higher FPSs. This is a bigger, heavier dart and tends to be quite draggy in the barrel, so you often need quite a lot of power to get it out. So I'm not expecting as higher FPS. I'm also not expecting it to be as consistent with these. There you go. So 123, 128, misfire of 46.5, 131, and 131.2. So what that does give us is, if you want to run this in a HVZ or something like that, and you've got a load of Talon mags and it's your outfit, you can run this with HE Gen 2s, and apart from that one dodgy dart we had, that will give you a 130 FPS sort of power for that kind of game. So that is good. Obviously a dramatically decreased FPS, but those darts will fly further and be more accurate than the sticky head darts that we just used. So the next dart we have is the HE Bamboo. These are factory HE Bamboo darts that you can buy from Worker themselves. They are a fair bit more expensive than the standard darts. However, they tend to work in things with Far Eastern barrels a lot better because there is less drag in the barrel due to the shape of the dart. So we've got 5 shots. We're about 130 for the standard ones. It'll be interesting to see if this gives us any performance advantage. And straight away, with 25 SPS up, nice and consistent. One more, and there you go. So that's gives you a good 150 FPS. So this little unicorn is kicking about as hard on those darts as a, say, what do you call it, a Dart Zone Nexus or something along those lines, Nexus Pro. So it's not bad for the size, and it does like the bamboo bodies, which you quite often find with these sort of Chinese barrels. Okay, so for the next chrono test, and the last one we are doing for the minute, we are going to be using Dragon Gen 2s. So these are EPP darts, like the sticky darts, but they have a rubber head, which is more like the worker heads, and these are actually glow tips. So if you ran this in a sort of Nerf style tracer, you'll get glow shots, which is really cool. They are also 0.9 gram darts, so they're still relatively heavyweight for the type of dart they are, which should give us a bit more accuracy downrange. Early Dragon darts were very light, and if you fired them at anything approaching a reasonable FPS, they would tend to lose stability in the air, as I found out with my big Sabre M20s and such. So I'm expecting to see similar performance to the sticky-headed darts. We shall see. Not bad, a bit lower. There we go. Highest dart so far. 184. 183. 184. And we're out. So, yeah. I kind of expected the Dragons to have the highest performance. It doesn't surprise me at all. They are very good in lower powered springs. They tend to be a very efficient dart. They have a good barrel seal whilst also being a very slippery dart in the barrel. So yeah, 185 FPS from something this size on the standard spring, bearing in mind that you can fit far heavier springs in this. Really not a bad option for this kind of engagement distance. Wouldn't trust them to fly particularly well further than 25 meters, but at this FPS, that's kind of what you're aiming for. So good performance there. Let's move on and see if we can hit the side of a barn door with it. Okay folks, you're outside with me now. Got some HE Gen 2 bamboos in there, which I think is about the sweet spot between accuracy and FPS. I'm not going to run a scar. I do have my fancy machine brass one that came with my Mark III Challenger, which only has 2 rows of bearings in, so should be suitable for lower FPS. And I'm going to take a few pot shots and we're going to see if we get anywhere near the target. On the back. Very nice. Bit high. So that was 12 shots. We did get on the target numerous times. Did get a couple of flyers. A little bit of it was me as well. I was not keeping the barrel as consistently straight as I should. But I'm going to load up again and we're going to do a second test. But we're going to do it with the scar barrel on and just see if that gives us a little bit more consistency in the way the darts fly. Okay, so I've got 10 shots in there this time and I'm on a scar barrel. So just see what effect that has. It's going to slow the darts down a bit, but it should make them more consistent. Yeah, got more drop. Oh. And out. Yeah, that was nicer with the scar barrel on, but it did slow down the darts quite a bit. Everything's still hitting it fairly hard because we're making some quite decent marks on the old target there. This backboard's absolutely hammered, so it's not providing much support to the target at all. So I'm going to stick some dragons in it and see where we get. Okay, so another test. We have dragons in the mag with the scar barrel. I'll see how it fires with the scar barrel. If they don't like the scar barrel, then we'll run without the scar barrel. Let's see, this should raise our FPS up to around, I don't know, probably the scar barrel on the front about 160, 170. Too low. Nah, see, they're all over the place with the scar barrel. Yeah, I'm going to take the scar barrel off the front. Does not like the scar barrel at this FPS with the dragons. How many have I got? Got about another 5. Just see how it goes without the scar barrel. And that's out. I did get one near the bullseye. I'm going to load up again with dragons and just send another sort of probably 10 at the target. One thing I didn't mention about the dragon darts is how expensive they are. If I put 10 darts in this mag, there's £2 worth, £2 British pounds worth of darts in it. Which is one of the reasons that I wouldn't really use them in a field, because if you don't get them back, that's quite a large amount of money. I think it's about £20 for 100. Just to give you an idea, the standard worker HE Gen 2s are only about £9 for 200. So they're got about 8p each, whereas these are 20p each. So it's quite a difference in price. Right, I'll give that another fair shake. Managed to have a bit of a jam there. Might have been me
kind of weak arm in. Let's just see if I've got a dart in there. No, okay. That was me not racking it properly more than anything. Oh, yeah. So, the dragons, and I've got to say this is my experience with dragon darts, they're very expensive, they're great for chrono queens, but unfortunately when it comes to actually hitting a target downrange, they aren't the best at all. I got one lucky shot just to the left bottom of the bullseye, I think one slightly to the right. Apart from that, it's very difficult even aiming in the same place every time to actually get a decent hit with dragon darts consistently. So my recommendation for this blaster is bambooed HE Gen 2s, and if you're using it for HVZ, then no scar barrel with a Gen 2 dart full bodied will keep you around the 130 FPS mark pretty consistently. So yeah, for something like HVZ, this is cracking because you've got Talon mag compatibility, which means that you can just run your Talon mags in it and it'll be spot on about 130 FPS, and you've got as many rounds and as many magazines with a skinny pusher that you can pull in and out as you can physically carry on your body. So yeah, cool piece of kit.
Oh, well, that was a pleasant experience, wasn't it? The Unicorn's a lovely little piece of kit. I've got to say that the sub 200 FPS class has never really interested me in Nerf before. More to the fact it's kind of dominated by flywheelers and modded standard style Nerf guns, sort of things you buy off the shelf made by Hasbro or other manufacturers. And I have become accustomed to the feel of a higher sort of build quality, using things like sabers and other such, or even high-end 3D printed springers, like Caliburns, etc. It's really nice to have a blaster which sits in this performance bracket, which gives us the sort of accessories and, you know, the ability to fit things that are a bit more firearm based, dare I say it. Obviously a bit of a dirty word in the Nerf community because no one likes to compare Nerf with sort of anything to do with firearms, but here we have a PDW stock and a Picatinny rail, and that really is the way that Nerf has been going for a while. Even the community produced blasters tend to have Picatinny rails on them, so that you can mount more serious accessories to give you a bit of an edge in combat. The Unicorn is a lovely little piece of kit. Got a good air seal out of the box. It's got enough of an air seal, it's not going to slow the piston down and affect your performance. It hits hard for its size. It sits just under that 130 FPS on a box stock Gen 2 HE dart, which is ideal. If you want to go harder and you run bamboos, the barrel likes them and you'll get an extra sort of 20-25 FPS for free almost. Build quality is really good. It is very, there's no creaking or anything. You're not going to get anything moved. Mag insertion and release is lovely. It does gravity drop. It's got a skinny pusher in it, so it doesn't matter whether you're primed forward or back, it will just drop the mag. Really nice. Yeah, can't really say enough about it really. If you want to see how this comes apart and goes together, obviously the unboxing video I did a couple of videos ago, you can see all that, but essentially if you haven't watched it, it's got 2 pins and the blaster splits in 2. And you can do it, I may as well just go ahead and do it, haven't I really? You can do it with all the accessories attached, etc. It just pops apart and you've got intermediate access to your float and plunger head and your spring should you wish to change it out. And this is a very, very soft spring. So like if I just, you can see there, very soft spring. I've seen people running K25s in these and they're hitting closer towards 200 FPS. So you can absolutely put a lot more poke in them and have something which is tiny but gives you a really good hit. The thing is, I would say on that is there are more suited blasters for that. At the moment it's got a really nice prime for its performance level and you can prime this all day. If you're running a HVZ and you were bristling with Talon mags and that, this on Gen 2 HEs would be absolutely ideal to just run as is. Which I think is far more what it's aimed for rather than higher FPS leanings. Putting it back together is just as simple. And just make sure you've lined up the top section with the bottom, and it will just clip back together. And it almost just sits there without any pins in it, but obviously then try and do it sort of on camera quickly is always a bit dodgy. But yeah, there we are, and that's it back together, ready to go. Air seal unaffected. Yeah, the extra trinkets, like having the reversed sort of Nerf stock, is really nice. And also having the ability to use a pop bottle as a stock is really bizarre, and I love that. So should you go and buy one? It's about 80 quid in the UK, that's what I paid from UK Nerf War. I don't know how much it is in the States, but I figure it would be a similar amount of money, maybe slightly less in dollars. We always pay a slight tax in the UK for things like this coming over from overseas. You absolutely should go and buy it, because I'll tell you what, plinking with this is really good fun. And where it's a lower FPS level, you don't destroy your darts. I really enjoy the powerful Nerf stuff, so you know, approaching and over 300 FPS. And the problem is when you're target shooting with those, when your darts hit things, they tend to break. It will rip the head off the dart when it hits the thing. It will blow the dart off in the head of the dart off in the barrel, leaving you with a jam. And if you use them more than a couple of times, and it does actually get expensive. You know, in airsoft we're used to buying 3,000 BBs for like 15 quid. In Nerf, a dart's going to cost you 10p per dart, so, or 10 cents per dart, however it works out. So it's not actually the cheapest thing if you're destroying a dart every shot. This, you can pretty much reliably hit targets with it as long as it's set up okay. With, I would say use bamboo darts with the old scar on the front to give you a nice bit of consistent thing. And over 18-20 meters, you're always going to hit your target, and it's good fun to plink with, and the darts don't get ruined. So yeah, I would say even if you don't really have a use case for it, it's definitely a nice thing to have. You can grab and just target shoot with your friends or just by yourself. It covers all the bases, and if you do want to set it up crazy with a pop bottle stock and all that, you can. It's got a little bit of a sense of humour about it. So fantastic piece of kit, highly recommend it. So I've been Ben, it's been a Shots Fired Airsoft video. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully it won't be such a great chasm before the next video. So I'll see you there. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Ah!